parasha has in it the idea of Para Aduma, the red heifer, and we know that Para Aduma is one of the signs of Mashiach. So I want to explore today what is that connection to, I don't want to say the word why is Para Aduma, because if Shlomo HaMelech didn't know the reason, but at least to give us an idea to how we can apply Para Aduma to our lives. Because we know that everything in the Torah, even though we can't accomplish it in the, maybe sometimes the physical sense, but you can always, everything that's written down in the Torah has to be accomplished. And it's pertaining to our lives here and now. Because we know, we said many times, the Torah is niknet Torat Chaim. The Torah is meant as a live Torah. It's not a Torah that talks to you about things that occurred in history. It's a Torah that's talking to every individual here and now. And when we read about Para Aduma, there's something that happens to us, a certain transformation, and certain we're becoming introduced. Something is going on, and today we want to explore what that idea of Para Aduma is, what the message of Para Aduma is, and how we can bring it down into our personal lives. So we know the parasha says, "Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe ve'el Aaron le'emor, zot chukat haTorah asher tziva Adonai le'emor." This is the chukah of the Torah. Daber el bnei Israel v'yikchu elecha para aduma temima. Let them take for you. You see, already we have a few interesting words because it says zot chukat haTorah. This is a chok. We know it's one of the mitzvot that we have no understanding in. There's mishpatim and chukim. The Torah is separated into two kinds of mitzvot. Mishpatim are mitzvot that we don't necessarily know the full extent of their understanding, but the Torah revealed the reason for their understanding. But the chukah, we have no understanding. Yet, very interesting that when the Torah introduces this mitzvah of Para Aduma, it doesn't say, oh, this is just another chok. It says, zot chukat haTorah. This is the chok of Torah, meaning that somehow Para Aduma is the chok of the whole Torah. Once you introduce yourself to Para Aduma, once a person becomes familiarized with this idea of Para Aduma, it must be that he can get a grasp on the whole Torah. And then it says that Ikach lecha to Moshe Rabbeinu v'ikchu elecha Para Aduma. They should bring a Para Aduma to you. And what's the criteria of the Para Aduma? Tmima. It has to be something without any blemishes. There can't be a blemish. It has to be red from head to toe. There can't be one black hair on this Para Aduma. Ve'en bamum asher lo alea ol. It can't carry anything. The Para Aduma can't carry anything. You know, it says once that there was a goy that was a big rasha, and he had a Para Aduma. So the Chachamim told him, listen, you know, the Para Aduma is something important to us. Name a price. We want to buy it from you. But you got to make sure that this Para Aduma can't carry anything on it. It can't have anything on it. It's got to be, you got to make sure to watch it day and night. Because our Torah says, V'lo nasa alea ol. So this Rasha, and they offered him a big amount back then. Whatever price he wanted, he would have gone from it. So this Rasha says, you know, these Jews, how are they going to know? How are they going to know if I put something on the Parah? How are they going to know that? So that night, he put something on the Parah. He wanted to trick them. He goes, not only am I going to make money on them, I'm going to show them that I even put something on the Parah, and these guys are not going to be able to fulfill the mitzvah. So the Chachamim came the next morning, told him, here we go, here's the price that we agreed upon. Show us the Parah. We want to make sure that everything is in order still. So they looked at the Para Aduma, and they looked in between, and one of the hairs of the Parah something was off. Come to the Chachamim and told them, that's it, it's not a deal. Because this Parah carried something on it. So this Rasha was shocked. How do you Chachamim know? And we'll see why it's important that the Parah can't carry anything. This Para Aduma has to be Tmima, has to be something that has no blemishes. Nothing can go wrong with it. Can you imagine? You're talking about perfection. How is a Kadosh Baruch Hu, in what state is a Kadosh Baruch Hu expecting of perfection of us? He's saying that this Para Aduma, when you have it, in its state of perfection, it can't be blemished, it can't have two black hairs, it's got to be Tmima, it can't have an ol on it, you got to watch it, you got to make sure that from head to toe it's perfect, it's fully red. What's this idea of Para Aduma? We know it comes the Midrash Tanchuma and says to us like this. בשעה שעלה משה למרום, at the time that Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shamayim, שמע קולו של הקדוש ברוך הוא. He heard the voice of הקדוש ברוך הוא יושב ועוסק בפרשת פרת אדומה. Hashem was learning פרשת פרה אדומה. He was in Shamayim, he was learning the parasha פרה אדומה. הלכה בשם אומרה, and he started to say, Rabbi Eliezer beni omer, Eliezer, my son, says, what's the halacha? Egla bat shnata. She has to be this age. Upara bat shnatayim. Amar Moshe lefanav ribono shel olam. How can you're saying halacha in the name of somebody else? How can it be HaKadosh Baruch Hu elyonim v'tachtonim shelcha? The whole world is yours, and you're saying halacha in the name of Eliezer? Amar lo, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu to Moshe Rabbeinu, tzaddik echad atid la'amod be'olami. There's going to be a tzaddik that's going to stand in my world. V'atid liftoach beparashat para aduma tchila. Look at the words of the Midrash. And he's going to open up his Torah with what? Parashat para. Why out of all the things that you want to choose, are you opening up with Parashat para aduma? Also that we know, so the Midrash continues, Rabbi Eliezer omer, Eglav nashtayim parashtayim, ma lefanav ribono olamim. Ihi ratzon sheyeh mechaletzai. Let this human being be from my offspring. What did HaKadosh Baruch Hu say to Moshe Rabbeinu? Hado dechtiv v'shema echad Eliezer. We know the sons of Moshe. How many sons did Moshe have? 2. What were their names? Gershom and Eliezer. That's v'shem oto miyuchad Eliezer. So you see that the son of Moshe Rabbeinu was Eliezer. So this Eliezer, and this we're talking about, the Parah Duma, the Midrash is talking about, is Eliezer Agadol, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurkunus. He knew the sod of Parashat Parah Duma. And the only person that the sod, the secret of Parashat Aduma, the meaning of why the Parashat Aduma it is what it is. Because what's the problem of understanding the secret of Parashat Parah Aduma? Why is it called the Chukat? It's called something that we don't understand. Comes the Midrash and tells us, Shesha'al Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, one of these Gerim came, and he asked Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, tell me something. You guys, the way you do the things with the Parah Aduma, you bring the Parah, you have to burn it, then you take the effer, you take the ashes of the Parah Aduma, and you grind them, and then you put it on the net, you put it on the dead person, and when you put the effer with the water on the dead person, that gives him purity. And the guy that does it, that sprinkles it on the dead person, he becomes tameh. He now becomes unpure. Imagine such a thing. You're taking something, you're making somebody who's unpure pure, and the one that's making the one that's unpure pure, he becomes unpure. So he says, what kind of things is this? And you have to do it twice and 3 times, on the 3rd day, on the 3rd. He says to him, what do you guys do when there's a ruach ra'ah? He goes, if somebody got this evil spirit in him, you know what we do? He goes, Ra'ita adam shenichnas bo ruach hazezit, this evil spirit, amar lo hen, what do you do? Amar lo mivim ikarim, we put these smokers under him, and we hit them, and we put some water, and the ruach ra'ah leaves him. And all of a sudden, the evil spirit takes him, it goes out of him. Amar lo ishmu oznecha ma shata motzi mipicha. So the Rabbi Yochanan told this ger, he says, listen to what you say. That's exactly what we're doing. Now look at what comes. Comes the Talmidim of Rabbi Yochanan, the students of Rabbi Yochanan, and they asked him and said, Rabbi, 1 second, this foolishness that you told this guy, we know you were just giving him an answer, but tell us the real reason. Rabbeinu leze dachita bekaneh, ma ata omer? Amar lahem chayechem lo amet metameh velo amayim metaharim. Don't think that this whole procedure that you do with the Parah Aduma, that you take the ashes and you sprinkle it on the dead guy, and because you make it in such a way that first you put the ashes, then you put the water, then the whole procedure, and you know where you do the shchita of the Parah Aduma outside of the Beit HaMikdash, outside of the Azara. So he says to him that Ela Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Chuka Chakakati Gzera Gazarti En Atai Rasha Lavor Gzerati Dichtiv Zot Chukat HaTorah. Comes HaKadosh Baruch Hu and says, because I commanded you to do it, that's why you have to do it. There's no logic. The idea of Parah Aduma is to deter away any logical understanding of any commandment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you. That's why when it comes to Zot Chukat HaTorah, look what Rashi says. Lefi she'asatan v'umot ha'olam מונים את ישראל לומר, מה המצווה הזאת? ומה הטעם יש בה? What is this word? What is this mitzvah you're doing? What's the reasoning behind it? לפיכך כתוב בחוקה, גזירה היא מלפניי, and look at all the words of the מפרשים. This is a decree in front of me, says הקדוש ברוך הוא. אין לך רשות לערער אחריה. You have no permission to start asking questions. Comes Rabbi Natan in Likutei Halachot and says, very interesting words. Parashat Para Aduma gala lanu, reveals to us, שאי אפשר להשיג ולהבין שום טעם במצוות הבורא יתברך. You thought that tonight we were going to tell you that only in the chukim, a part of the Torah you can't understand. Comes Rabbi Natan and says, when the Torah says, Zot Chukat Torah, it's telling you that even in the mitzvot that were revealed to us, some of their reasoning, even that you don't understand. And even those mitzvot, how you're supposed to do them, Chukah chakakti, gzera gazarti. Because that's, ve'en lecha reshut la'arer acharai. Even though the Torah revealed to you some of the reasoning of the mitzvot. Oh, and a person says, look, you know why we do this? It's logical, it makes sense. Oh, it makes sense, that's why I do it? No, says, that's not proper work of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Continues Rabbi Natan and says, that's what Shlomo HaMelech says, Amar chakma v'hi rechoka mimeni. Shlomo HaMelech, the wisest of all men, wanted to find the reasons for all the mitzvot. What did he say? He says, I thought I'll be wise, v'hi rechoka mimeni. And it's far from me. And I don't understand the reason of Para Aduma. Ki metaeret me'im u'metamet torim. There's a contrast here. It makes the unpure pure, and it makes the pure pure. Now how can you understand such a thing? And comes the Midrash Rabbah in this parasha and tells us like this. What do you see about the wisdom of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? The wisdom of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not like the wisdom of man. Because it says like this. How does HaKadosh Baruch Hu conduct the world? You want to know how HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world? How does he run the world? What does he do? Kegon Avraham miterach. Where did Avraham Avinu come from? Avraham Avinu, the biggest tzaddik, the world that started, the one that started the belief in God, to spread the belief in God in the world, came from Terach. Chizkiyahu, which was one of the Jewish kings that was a very righteous king, that was a very big tzaddik. Where did he come from? Me'achaz. His father Achaz was a Rasha. Yeshayahu me'Amon. Mordechai. Where did Mordechai and Purim come from? Shimi ben Gera. Who was Shimi ben Gera? Shimi ben Gera was the one that when David HaMelech was running away from Avshalom, Shimi ben Gera cursed him. So all of a sudden you see something very strange here. All these righteous guys, all these righteous Aravot are coming from where? So you see something, you see a pure thing coming from something unpure. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's how I conduct my world. Israel me'ovdei kochavim. Ha'olam haba me'olam hazeh. Mi asa ken? Mi tziva ken? Who did this? Mi gazar ken? Who decreed like this? Lo yechido shel olam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. That's what it says. Look at the chukim of the Torah. What happens in the Torah? If a person's tameh, what happens? If he has a little spot on him of impurity, he comes to the Kohen, and the Kohen says to him, you know what, my friend? You're impure. But if his whole body is full of it, what does he become now? Pure. The Torah doesn't make sense. You have one little spot, you're impure. But if your whole full body is full of this thing, you're cool, you're pure. Comes the Torah, gives you another case. Aisha shemet vlada b'mea. You have a woman, and you have an offspring. You have the baby that passed away in her stomach. Voshita chaya et yadat. Now what happens? The lady that does the birth, what does she do? She puts her hand inside the stomach of the lady, and she touches the fetal. She becomes tameh, and the lady stays tahor. So the baby that's inside of the lady makes one person impure, and the lady that's having the baby, she's pure. Amed babayit, if somebody dies inside a house, the house is considered to be what? Pure. Now you take the dead person outside of the house, Yatsa mitocho, now the house becomes what? Unpure. Mi asaken, mi tzivaken, mi gazarken, lo yechido shel olam. Taman tanina oskin bipara mitchila misofa metamim bgadim. Those that deal with the para aduma, their clothes become impure, they become impure, their body becomes impure. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this is the Midrash Rabbah that introduces us to this parasha. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm sending you a message. The way that I conduct my affairs is not going to make sense to you. The way that I run the world is not going to make sense to you. The one thing that you have to do is Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kach hakakti, gzera gzera gazarti, I ata rasha la'avor al gzerati. You can't go over my decrees. HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world in a certain way, don't try to understand it. Zot chukat Torah. This is the chukah of the Torah. A person wants to get close to Torah, he wants to understand the Torah. First thing you have to understand is what? You don't understand. That's why Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol, you know who Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol was? Very interesting. Who was Rabbi Eliezer? He was the son of Moshe Rabbeinu, right? That's why when Moshe Rabbeinu saw Rabbi Eliezer talking about Para Aduma, he said, Yezeh michilatzai. Because there's only one person or two people in a generation that understand the secret of Para Aduma. Moshe Rabbeinu knew the secret of Para Aduma. Eliezer knew the secret of Para Aduma. So Rabbi Eliezer, when Moshe Rabbeinu saw that it was such a great man like Eliezer, he says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please make this Eliezer for my children. So when Eliezer came down to the world, he was one of the children of Moshe Rabbeinu.
But he has already.
Huh?
He has already.
No, that was Eliezer before. So Eliezer became one of the kid of Moshe Rabbeinu. You're saying when this happened, it doesn't think. Could be, you're right. It's just that what the Midrash means. Maybe the Neshama came down and was, whatever. These are not subjects for us. We'll take it at face value for now. So, and later on, Eliezer HaGadol was from the offsprings of Moshe Rabbeinu. Nonetheless, we're seeing something very interesting here. That there's an idea of a chukah that we don't understand. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is introducing to us this idea of Para Aduma to give you an introduction to the way that I do things. You're not going to understand. If you're trying to understand the way that I run the world, if you're trying to understand the commandments that I give you, it's not for you.
Don't try and notice it.
Don't try and don't understand. That's good. Para Aduma, where do you do the shchita of the Para Aduma? Outside. Outside the Azara. Why do you do it outside the Azara? Think about it. What's this message that Para Aduma is trying to reveal to us? Comes Rabbi Nachman in Likutei Moran and tells us like this. What's the idea of Para Aduma? He says like this. Para Aduma is the idea of tefillah. The idea of prayer. How is Para Aduma connected to praying? What are you now talking about a cow? And now you're going to come to pray. And really, why did the mitzvah, the commandment of Para Aduma, what does it come to do for? What's the reason HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Para Aduma to Am Yisrael? No? What's the reason HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Para Aduma to Am Yisrael?
To purify.
To correct what? Comes the Midrash HaGadol and tells us like this. When was the first Para Aduma? V'chi ata motzeh shenishcheta para rishona b'sheni b'Nisan. On the second day of Nisan. Velama b'Nisan, and why on Nisan? Shemishiva asar b'Tamuz, from the 17th of Tammuz, right? Ve'ad sheni b'Nisan, 285 yom. How many days? 285. What's the gematria of 285? Para. Why is that relevant to us? Kedei shetechaper al oto maaseh. 285 days. Kedei shetechaper al oto maaseh. What maaseh did the Para Aduma come to do? Comes the Torah and says, Tavo ha'em v'tenakeh et soa banea. Let the mother come and clean up the mess of her children. Chet ha'egel, when Am Yisrael did Chet ha'egel, the commandment of Para Aduma was to give kapara, was to give a correction, an atonement for Chet ha'egel. How is Para Aduma atoning Chet ha'egel? Because we know that the way that the way that things work, what's the way that things work? That in the same way that you made the sin, you have to do the correction. So when you made the sin of Chet HaEgel, what was the sin of Chet HaEgel? What was the sin of Chet HaEgel? Am Yisrael, what happened? Moshe Rabbeinu was supposed to come down at a certain time. They started what? Trying to understand. Where's Moshe Rabbeinu? Why is he not coming down? We need somebody to lead us. We need somebody. Is he coming down? We need somebody to take us up to thing. To the extent that what? Remember, Parah Adumah has to be perfect, right? There can be nothing wrong with this Parah Adumah. To the extent that what? That even the Satan came and showed them, comes the Midrash and says that the Satan, he came, the Malach HaMavet, came and showed them Moshe Rabbeinu on a deathbed, and they saw Moshe Rabbeinu's dead, and therefore they said, since Moshe Rabbeinu is no longer here to lead us, we have to make a leader for us. What did they do? They tried to understand. They tried to put logic into the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. Comes the Parah Adumah, which is a mitzvah v'chok, you don't understand anything. Comes the Parah Adumah and has to clean the mess of his daughter. What's the cleanup of the mess of the kid? That's why Rabbi Nachman says, Parah Adumah is keneged what? Tefillah. Why? What does a person do? When you go to pray every day, what do? Look what Rabbi Nachman says. Ki ikar tefillah hi al yedei emunah. A Jew has to understand, where there's logic, there's no emunah. Where there's emunah, there's no logic. When there's faith, there's no room for logic. That's where Rabbi Nachman's coming to tell us. Somebody who's coming to pray, what are you coming to do? You're coming to tell the Kadosh Baruch Hu, I know that everything is in the way that you're doing it. And you're controlling it. And I know that afilu leshanot et hateva, that you can even change nature. V'zeh b'chinat parat adumah. Watch, v'neshlama parim sfatenu. Says Rabbi Nachman, ki al yedei b'chinat esa einai el ha'arim. When I see the world going in a way that doesn't make sense to me, what do? Esa einai el ha'arim. I look up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I throw away my logic. I throw away my sechel. Because I'm going with HaKadosh Baruch Hu like a chok. I'm going with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a way that I don't understand. Chet HaEgel, you try to understand. You try to make all kinds of calculations. Comes the Parah Adumah and says, stop trying to understand. Comes Shlomo HaMelech, Amar, Achekema v'yirechoka mimeni. Shlomo HaMelech also, with in our humble opinion, he stumbled in this idea. Because we know that one of the mitzvot, one of the commandments of the kings is what? Lo yarbelo susim v'lo yarbelo nashim. He can't have too many horses, and he can't have too many wives. He can't have too many women. Comes the Torah and says, why shouldn't he have that? Shema yaturu et libo. They're going to take his heart away. Says Shlomo HaMelech, Ani arbe susim, ani arbe nashim. I know the real reasons behind the Torah. I'm going to have a lot of horses. I'm going to have a lot of wives. V'lo yaturu et libi. And they won't take me away. What happened? They took him away. And this is Shlomo HaMelech, the wisest of all men. Shlomo HaMelech was an inyan of chokhmah. So Parashat Parah Adumah is coming to tell us an idea that that a person can't have logic when it comes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Comes the Sfat Emet. Says like this. Comes the Sfat Emet and tells us something very interesting. We know that in the weeks leading up to Pesach, right, we read Arba Parshiot. We read 4 parashot. What's one of the parashah that we read? Parashat Parah Adumah. Right? And comes the Sfat Emet and says like this. Mashekavu Parashat Parah b'Shabbat. Out of all the parashot that we read leading up to Pesach, why? Why do you read Parashat Adumah leading up to Pesach? So one of the reasons they say, the Chachamim tell us that the reason is because a person, before he did the Korban Pesach, he needs to be purified from any kind of impurity. But today you don't have Korbanot. A person has no Korbanot today. There's no Beit HaMikdash today. So why did Chazal enact this mitzvah of Parah Adumah? Listen to what the Sfat Emet says. Uma shekavu parashat Parah b'Shabbat, nira ki HaShabbat mesaya letahara zot. Shabbat helps you. Because when HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu and he commanded him about this mitzvah of Parah Adumah, he told him, Moshe Rabbeinu, you should know, only to you will I reveal this secret. Nobody else will know the secret of Parah Adumah. Only the Moshe Rabbeinu of every generation knows the real secret of Parasha Adumah. Because when a person knows the secret of Parasha Adumah, there is no emunah anymore. And you should know why was Parah Adumah only revealed to Moshe Rabbeinu? Why can nobody else know the mitzvah of Parah Adumah? The Chachamim tell us because Moshe Rabbeinu at the time of Chet HaEgel, when Am Yisrael was involved in the sin of the golden calf, he wasn't in this world. And a person that was in the world at the time of the Chet of the Chet HaEgel can never know the reason of the Parah Adumah.
Wow.
So, what about Yoshua? Yoshua was also not around, right? Yoshua should also know the reasoning of the Parah Adumah. He says, no, even though Yoshua was waiting for Moshe Rabbeinu at the bottom of the mountain, he still was in the world. For some reason, a person that was in the world at the time of the Chet of the golden calf, of the Chet HaEgel, has no relation to understanding this idea of Parah Adumah. Nonetheless, says the Sfat Emet, HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves His children, and because He loves His children, He always wants to give us a glimpse of everything. Listen to what the Sfat Emet says, something unbelievable. You have to be ready for this, because this is going to change your life. This Shabbat, you're going to have a whole new, different understanding. It's very important. The person's going to go into Shabbat. I don't know if after this Sfat Emet you're going to come out. Listen to what he says. So only Moshe Rabbeinu knows the reasoning of Parah Adumah. And why do we read Parshat Parah Adumah? Really, in one of the 4 Parshiot, there's Parshat HaChodesh. And we know that the first mitzvah that Am Yisrael was commanded was what? V'achodesh hazeh lachem Rashi Chodashim. When they left Mitzrayim. Why did Rabbi Eliezer open up with Parah Adumah? Why is the first Gemara? We know that the first person's name that's mentioned in the Gemara in Brachot, who is it? Me matai korim et shema be'arvit. Mishat, right? Mitzet. When do we read it? What does it say? Divrei Rabbi Eliezer, right? When do we read Shema Me'arvit? Mishasha Kohanim Ochlim Betrumatan. At the time that the Kohanim Ochlim Betrumatan, right? Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. The Gemara continues, the Mishnah continues over there. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. The first person that Rebbe, when he made the Torah Sheba'al Peh, the first rabbi that he mentioned was who? Rabbi Eliezer. And when Rabbi Eliezer opened up, he opened up with Parah Adumah. Because Parah Adumah is an introduction to a person going into the world of Emunah. When a person goes into the world of faith, when he goes into believing in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you can't take logic with you. Because Emunah in his essence is not logical. Comes the Sfat Emet and tells us, by Moshe Rabbeinu, he told them the reason for Parah Adumah, and nobody else. But for sure there's a reason to Parah Adumah. Rak shemi she'ta'am ta'am chet, a person who tasted what it means to like to sin, can never understand. Eno yachol la'asig ze atam. Can never understand this idea of why there's such a commandment of Parah Adumah. Ki hu tikun chet ha'egel, shemikodem hayu dvukim be'etz ha'chaim. What's Parah Adumah? Parah Adumah is the correction for Chet HaEgel. So Am Yisrael before Chet HaEgel could have also understood Parah Adumah. After the Chet HaEgel, this mitzvah was only saved for Moshe Rabbeinu. So he says like this, ועל ידי חטא העגל אינם יכולים להשיג טעמי פרה, ולכן משה רבנו עליו השלום השיג הטעם. ולכן, what happens? בשבת שמשה רבנו עליו השלום, remember what happens to Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael at the time of Har Sinai said Naaseh v'nishma. What's Naaseh v'nishma? At that moment, Paska zu matan. The idea, what was the conversation? Let's go back in history a little bit. And let's go back to the garden of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And in the garden of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have 3 characters. Adam, Rishon, Chava, and the Nachash. So comes the Kadosh Baruch Hu and says to Adam Rishon, I have a very simple commandment for you. Mikol ha'etz asher bagan tochal, u'mi'etz hadat tovera lo tochal. You're allowed to eat from whatever fruit, whatever tree you want in the whole garden. But for one tree, you can't.
Yep.
Adam Rishon accepted that. Comes the Nachash, comes the snake and comes to Chava and tells her, you know why HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want you to eat from the tree? Because if you eat from the tree, your eyes will open up and you'll start to understand. What happens? A person starts to put logic into the mitzvot. You know why HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want you to understand? Who asked you? What difference does it make why HaKadosh Baruch Hu told you not to eat from the tree? Hashem said don't eat from the tree. And therefore you're not supposed to eat from the tree. What does it matter what the reason is? The second Chava started to listen to the Nachash for giving reasons why HaKadosh Baruch Hu said not to eat from the tree, we're in this big mess. That's the mess. That's where the mess started. You started having a conversation why HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded you to do something, you're in a mess. Am Yisrael at Har Sinai, they fixed that mess, right? How did they fix that mess? They said, Na'aseh v'nishba. We will do and we will listen. Paskad Dumatan. Whatever it is that happened, the Nachash put into Chava and Adam Rishon, and there is now death in the world. At the time of Har Sinai, Paskad Dumatan. V'atem Elokim Chaim. You became to be gods, and you no longer will have to die. And the Malachim came down and gave everybody the Keter, the crown of Na'aseh v'nishba. Am Yisrael would have never been dead. There would never need to be a reasoning for Parah Adumah and Paskad Zumatam. But what happened? They did the sin of the egg. And the Ktarim of Na'aseh v'nishma went up, and the Nachash came back into the game. The Nachash came back into the game, you need Chukim again. Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu needs to constantly remind you. Stop looking for a reason why you do the commandments. You do them because Chukah chakakti, gzera gazarti, ve'en lecha reshut la'arer acharai. This is what I commanded you, and you don't have permission to start questioning me. So comes the Sfat Emet and says a beautiful chidush. So now we know, remember we said this, that the Arizal said that when Moshe Rabbeinu was supposed to take the crowns of Na'aseh v'nishma were taken away from Am Yisrael, and who were they given to? Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe Rabbeinu, the lover of a Jew that he was, the lover and the true leader of Klal Yisrael that he was, he said that Kadosh Baruch Hu will only accept them in one condition, and that condition is that I have to come down every single Shabbat and return the Ktarim of Na'aseh v'nishma, and I'll have to give back these crowns of Na'aseh v'nishma to Am Yisrael. And when Moshe Rabbeinu every Friday night comes down and he gives you back those crowns of Na'aseh v'nishma, you go what? Back now to what? To the stage of Paskad Dumatan. Says the Sfat Emet, V'lachen Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom misigatam. V'lachen b'Shabbat, Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom machzir liYisrael aktarim. He comes down again and he gives you those crowns. Shezochin lekabel ha'ara menuchot harishonim. So now you get an understanding. Like the first Luchot, when the first Luchot came down to the world, the person didn't need to toil for Torah. A person was open. He wasn't open. His heart was open to the Torah. You read the Torah, you understood everything. You didn't have any questions. Everything was understood. You did Na'aseh v'nishma. You lived in a world that was Na'aseh v'nishma. You lived in a world where you went after HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You didn't have any questions. You didn't have any doubts. You went straight. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says go, you went. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said stay, you stayed. Says the Sfat Emet that since on every Friday, every Shabbat, Moshe Rabbeinu comes and he raises you to that level again. Yecholim, you ready for this? What the Sfat Emet says? Yecholim la'asig mitame para. You can now understand the reasoning of para. Says the Sfat Emet, every Shabbat you can understand. V'lachen mevakshim yegaleh lan ta'ameh. We ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to reveal to us the reasoning of Parah Adumah. So when Moshe Rabbeinu gives you those crowns of Na'aseh v'nishma, you now ask, you can understand the reasoning of Parah Adumah. What is Sfat Emet? Every Friday a person has the ability to understand Ta'amim. And he says that's why we read the Parasha of Parah Adumah, even though we can't do the commandment, because just reading it purifies a person. Why does it purify a person? Because it reminds him that Emunah has no logic. It reminds him that when you're in a dark place in life, don't worry, because the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is conducting the world, you don't have to understand. Comes the Rambam in Ilchot Avodah Zarah, Alacha Gimel, he says like this. A person comes and he wants to give reasonings for the Torah. He wants to say, oh, you know why you should follow Judaism? You know why you should come to the Torah? Because the Torah makes sense. The Torah is logical. Says the Rambam, V'imashech kol adam achar machshavot libo. If a person goes after his thoughts, he thinks, I'm a smart guy. I know reasons. I'm going to go after my I have logic. And I'm going to go after my logic. You know, the Rambam was a Rishon. And every word in the Rambam is precise. And look where the Rambam chooses to tell you this idea. In Ilchot Avodah Zarah, in the laws of Avodah Zarah. He says to you like this, if a person gets lured after his thoughts, Nimtza Machriv et ha'olam, he destroys the world. Lefi kotzer da'ato. Because the person is as smart as he thinks he is, he's lacking. Don't go after your hearts. Everybody has a different way. Everybody has a different logic. Everybody has a different understanding. If we all started to go according to our own understanding, the world would become a destruction. Everybody thinks the way I think is the right way. And it's logical to me. Imagine the whole world started to go. That's what's going on today. This one thinks he can go that way. That guy thinks he can go that way. Everybody has the right to be happy. And the pursuit of happiness means what? I can go after my own thoughts and my own ways, and I can live life in whatever fashion I want to live it. Says the Torah, we have a different plan for you. That's the idea of Parah Adumah. The Torah says Parah Adumah. We have a different plan for you. Mashiach, what does Mashiach mean? Bayom hahu yeh Hashem echad u'shmo echad. Meaning, why is Parah Adumah a thing of perfection? Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu tells you that in a time of darkness I expect perfection from you. And even though the Parah Adumah gets slaughtered outside, in an area outside, not inside where everything else gets slaughtered, you might think, oh, a Kadosh Baruch Hu is not with me. I feel like a Kadosh Baruch Hu is outside of me. I feel like a Kadosh Baruch Hu is not with me at this time. Says the Kadosh Baruch Hu, Zot Chukat. The way I conduct my world is not going to make sense to you. You just have to keep on going. You have to keep on believing. Comes the Ben Ish Chai. Interestingly enough, where is Parasha Adumah told us? After which parasha? Korach. What did Korach do? He came to Moshe Rabbeinu and said, Moshe Rabbeinu, I don't understand. He said, look, a room that's full of books, does it need a mezuzah? Says Moshe Rabbeinu, yes. Why? Because Hashem said so. That doesn't make sense. What was the problem of Korach? He started to investigate the reasonings of the mitzvot. Comes the Torah and says, right after Parashat Korach, he gives us Parashat Parah Adumah. It says, you see what happened to a person who was a very wise man. Korach was one of the Nesiim in the Midbar. He was the Rosh Sanhedrin. Some say that he had a level of understanding like Moshe Rabbeinu. A person with such wisdom. But he started to investigate the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He started to come to Moshe Rabbeinu in a beged of kulot chelet. He goes, does this beged need a tzitzit? Moshe Rabbeinu says, yes. He goes, how does that make sense? How does that make sense, Moshe Rabbeinu? Korach wanted to investigate. He wanted to look reasonings for the mitzvot. What happened to him? The Gemara tells us there's a place where Korach v'adato, Gvurim v'ad hayom hazeh, they're buried. And until this day they say, Moshe emet v'torato emet. Moshe is truth and his Torah is truth. Meaning that what? They came to the realization that you're not supposed to look for reasonings of the mitzvot. A person's supposed to go after HaKadosh Baruch Hu without any logic. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu demands of you perfection in one area. Emunah. Why is the Parah Adumah not allowed to have an all? Why can't she carry something? What happens to a person when he carries something? It becomes heavy. What happens to you when you start having doubts? You become heavy. The Parah Adumah is teaching us emunah. It's teaching us how a person is supposed to conduct himself in a world. What's the world? Lashon Olam is Lashon Helen. In a place where you can't see a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Says the Kadosh Baruch Hu, I'm giving you the lesson of Parah Adumah. How are you supposed to conduct yourself in this world that sometimes doesn't show a Kadosh Baruch Hu in a revealed way? It conceals a Kadosh Baruch Hu. says you're supposed to be like the Paraduma. And the Paraduma will purify you. Why will the Paraduma will purify you? Because the only time that a person starts to waver is when the Nachash comes and tells him, oh, you know why you're not supposed to eat from the tree? He starts to ask you questions. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? A Jew is supposed to ask questions, but not if those questions are going to deter him away from the Emunah. Comes the Ben Ish Chai and says in Parashat Korach, he says, we know that the Torah consists of Chukim u'Mishpatim, and that's why he says like this. He says, Vatam, says, what was Shlomo HaMelech? Says, the first Beit HaMikdash, why did Shlomo HaMelech ask for HaKadosh Baruch Hu? When HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Shlomo HaMelech, I'll give you anything you want, what do you want? V'natata le'avdecha lev shomea lishpot, give me a heart of understanding. Meaning Shlomo HaMelech wanted to understand things. He wanted to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu with an attribute of wisdom. Ve'eshiv lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because you asked of this, you can have everything. Why? Because the first Beit HaMikdash was keneged mishpatim. Says the Ben Ish Chai, why did Shlomo HaMelech ask for this? Ki ra'a beruach HaKodesh de Beit HaMikdash asher yivaner hu yeh b'zchut chelek HaMishpatim. In the merit of the mishpatim, the mitzvot of the Torah that have mishpatim, that was the first Beit HaMikdash. And if you look at it, why was the Beit HaMikdash destroyed? Because ultimately that's not perfection. Mishpatim means we have some kind of understanding. The first Beit HaMikdash that was in the merit of mishpatim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that doesn't have a lasting effect, because that's not the ultimate way you're supposed to serve me. Oh. Ach Beit HaShlishi, says the Ben Ish Chai, Shibane b'mera b'yamenu. What's the third Beit HaMikdash that's going to be built in the days? Before we say that, comes David HaMelech and says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, says David HaMelech, Zimrot ayu li chukecha. Says David HaMelech, your chukim became to me like songs. Really, David HaMelech was punished by this. But what is David HaMelech really saying? That what uplifted me at the time that I was down, David HaMelech had many Yisurim, he had many people trying to attack him, his children, his people. People constantly were trying. David HaMelech grew up years of his life. Years, he was a shepherd. His father threw him out of the house. David HaMelech's whole life could have been, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I just want to come home. I want to come home. I want to do that. I want to be like all my brothers. Why am I an outcast? And until he became the king of the Jewish people, until all the Jewish people accepted him. And then once he was a king, they started to doubt his lineage. David HaMelech, step after step, is being attacked. Says David HaMelech, Zmirot ayu li chukecha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you know what gets me out of these situations? That I don't try to make sense of things. Zimrot ayu li chukecha. Even though he was punished, because there's another pshat in the pasuk, but nonetheless, it's written in one of the books that David HaMelech says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what encourages me in my times of darkness is I think about the chukot. Because I understand the gzera gazarti, chukah hakakti, ve'en lecha reshut la'acher la'arer acharai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is conducting the world in His own way. And you have no right to ask Him about it. Says the Ben Ish Chai, Beit HaMikdash HaShlishi, you know what's going to be in the merit of what? The chukim. In order to build the Beit HaMikdash HaShlishi, he says it's going to be she'en laim tam, yeh b'zchut chelek hachukim she'en laim tam, there's no reason. Ve'en hasechel mechayev otam. And logic doesn't make you do these mitzvot. It doesn't make sense. That's where the third Beit HaMikdash is going to be. Continues the Beit HaMikdash, says again, ve'en ve'agula, the redemption of Am Yisrael, is also on these ideas. The redemption, that's why Parah Adumah is the sign of Mashiach. Because Parah Adumah is revealing to you, how am I going to bring about Mashiach? I have to be perfection. I have to be tamim. What does it mean tamimah? What does it mean when a person is tamim? He goes after HaKadosh Baruch Hu at all costs, even when it doesn't make sense. Even when he doesn't understand everything. He doesn't try to make sense of the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu is running the world. Says the Ben Ish Chai, that's the Geulah Shlishit. An internal Geulah, an eternal Beit HaMikdash, an everlasting Beit HaMikdash is when a Jew follows HaKadosh Baruch Hu without trying to understand His ways. Ki ha-Geulah tluya b'tshuva, he says. How do we get redemption? How does HaKadosh Baruch Hu going to redeem us? Tshuva. Says the Ben Ish Chai, tshuva doesn't make any sense. V'tshuva b'sok chok she'en tam. Because really when a person sins, what does it mean? You sin, you're supposed to die. There's no reason. There's no logic behind repentance. How can a person do repentance? How can you change? Yesterday you were an evil person, today you're a tzaddik. How can that happen? That's a chuk. The fact that the same individual that for 30 years of his life was being mechalel Shabbat, he never kept Shabbat. For 50 years of his life, he never kept Shabbat. The guy never put on tefillin one day. All of a sudden he wakes up, and for the next 10 years of his life, for the next 5 years of his life, this person has a transformation. Everything behind that gets erased. That's paraduma. That's going out. You don't understand. What do you mean? You want to tell me this guy 95% of the time was a Rasha, 5% of the time he did Shuvah. That's going to bring the Geulah? Yes, says the Ben Ish Chai. That's the chok of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's how HaKadosh Baruch Hu conducts His world. Gezerah gazarti ve'en lecha reshut la'arer acharai. That's the chok, that's the message of Parah Adumah. Asher lo nasa alea ol. When a person is heavy, it means you started the snake to tell you things like, oh, you know why HaKadosh Baruch Hu told you shouldn't eat from the tree? An eternal Beit HaMikdash, a sign of Mashiach, is Parah Adumah. When a person is ready to go after HaKadosh Baruch Hu without any chokhmah, without any wisdom, without any trying to make any sense. Most of the people that leave the path is because their sechel, they started putting their thoughts into why the Torah does certain things. Say, no, you know the Torah has its way, I have my way. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, you want to bring about Mashiach? You want to bring about your own redemption? You're in a dark place? Your life is going in a way that you don't understand? Think about Parah Adumah. Because the Torah is talking about here and now. Parah Adumah is such a thing that the guy who takes it, who's pure, and he has a fellow that's unpure, he makes him pure, and he becomes unpure. That doesn't make any sense. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what you're seeing in front of your eyes, and the way that even your own personal world is being conducted, doesn't make any sense to you. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, think about the Parah Adumah. Because the redemption is reliant on the Parah Adumah. To go after HaKadosh Baruch Hu at all cost, without any logic, without any understanding. And that's why David HaMelech says, Zmirot ayu li chukecha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your chukim become for me, there's something that uplift me. Because when I think about the chukim, I'm able to go through any event in life. That's why when the Torah introduces to us, Parah Adumah, it says, Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe ve'el Aaron amar, Zot chukat HaTorah. This is the whole Torah. This is chukat HaTorah. A person wants to come into the world of the Torah. He wants to come into the world of emunah, of belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You want to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu? You serve Him without logic. You serve Him even when it doesn't make sense. Even when things are not going in the way that you think they're supposed to go. Even when the plans of your life are not the way that you planned them. That's Parah Adumah. That's emunah. That's why the Parah Adumah has to be read from head to toe. Because the second you let a little bit inch of the Yetzirah to come in, the Parah Adumah becomes pasul. Your emunah becomes pasul. The second you allow logic to dictate your life, your emunah is at risk. You're at danger. Says the Ben Ish Chai, that's why the third Beit HaMikdash is in the merit of chukim. Because something that's going to be everlasting is only when a Jew goes after HaKadosh Baruch Hu without any logic. When he's tamim after HaKadosh Baruch Hu. With whatever faith HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to him, whatever way HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows you in your life, you say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Chukah chakakta, gzera gzerata, ve'en li reshut la'arer acharecha. I'm not trying to figure you out, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm not trying to make sense of things. I'm going in the ways of the Parah Adumah. And that's why we read Parah Adumah, and this is the channel that we can access this Shabbat. Moshe Rabbeinu is going to come down to each and every one of us, and he's going to give us the Keter of Naaseh v'Nishma again, and we're going to be elevated to that time of Har Sinai shepaskazu matam. And what it means when the Sfat Emet tells us that the revelation that you can now ask for Parah Adumah, it means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to strengthen your emunah. You'll be able to have a Shabbat full of emunah. You'll be inspired to go after HaKadosh Baruch Hu in any situation that you're in, because you're not going to try to find the reason why things are going the way they are. And when you leave this Shabbat of Parah Adumah has to take you all the way to Mashiach. Why is the reasoning of Parah Adumah going to be revealed in Mashiach? Because Parah Adumah is Bayom Ahu Yeh Hashem Echad U'Shmo Echad. Because at the time of Mashiach, you don't need emunah. Because everything is going to be clear. Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to show you why He did everything. So there's no room for emunah. Where is there room for emunah? When there's unclarity. That's Parah Adumah. You'll never understand it. That's why David HaMelech in one place says, Kadosh Baruch Hu, I want the whole Torah to be to me like chukim. Because if it's not, it's the time of Mashiach. When Mashiach comes, you'll see a Kadosh Baruch Hu. You'll see everything. Everything will make sense. If everything makes sense, there's no room for emunah. When things don't make sense, that's where emunah kicks in. That's Parah Adumah. And that's why Parah Adumah is a leading up to Mashiach. Because it tells you, because you had emunah tmimah, because there's an emunah tmimah in the world, because there's a perfection in your emunah, where you're not casting doubt, you're not allowing doubt to come and rule over you, that's a sign for Mashiach. That's when Mashiach comes. Whether we're looking for the global Mashiach, whether a person's looking for his own Mashiach, for his own redemption, in whatever situation he is, your own redemption as Gula, to get your own redemption, is to lead your life in the way of Parah Adumah, to tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it doesn't make sense to me, but that's okay, I'm still going after you. We'll stop here.
I have a question.
It's like a